parents, they advise children, and the child gets old, he says, if I would have only listened. If I would have only listened. I'm telling you really now, every one of us, we learn, we discuss many things. We all have to think, if we would have only listened. Just saying, we have to think about that. Okay. We're discussing now Machlokas Rav and Shmuel. Do we see Shliach Nasaid or Ein Shliach Nasaid? If a person's appointed an agent, let's say for kiddushin, or two agents, to Mikadosh and Isha, is the Shliach qualified to be an aid on the kiddushin? Or we say, since Shliach Shalom Kamoso, he's the equivalent of the husband, so just as the husband cannot be an aid, the Shliach is not able to be an aid. This is Machlokas Rav and Shmuel. Rav says Shliach Nasaid, and Dvei Reb Shila says the Shliach cannot be an aid, because he's the equivalent of the husband. Just read it again here. Iba Ravam Shliach Nasaid, the Reb Shila Amri Ein Shliach Nasaid. My time of the Reb Shila. Why? What is the position of those, the students of Reb Shila? Ilemo Bishum Lo Omale Havali Aid. Is it because the sender did not designate him to be the witness? A person who marries a woman in the presence of two people, he did not designate them to be his witnesses. Are you going to tell me it's not kiddushin because they weren't designated to be witnesses? Factually, if the kiddushin takes place in the presence of two witnesses, they're married. It's a marriage. One second. Okay, so it's not the reason why it's very Shila says the shliach doesn't cannot because he wasn't designated. That's the argument. Do you have to designate witnesses? Don't you have to designate witnesses? Because clearly the halacha is even if witnesses are not designated, and the marriage takes place in their presence, the kiddushin is a kiddushin. Discuss in a moment. Now, I've mentioned yesterday a Rashba. The Rashba says, what happens if a man marries a woman and there are no witnesses? She's not aware of the witness, he's not aware of the witnesses, neither. And the witnesses behind the fence who witness the man giving the money to the woman saying, Mitabazu, is it a valid marriage or not? So the Rashba says definitely not. Why? Because basically everybody understands marriage is only a marriage if it's in the presence of witnesses. It's not in the presence of witnesses, it's not a marriage. So since neither were aware that it was being witnessed, so we could say that their intent was not marriage. No, it's not designation. No, you need das. Not because you didn't designate. You weren't aware there were witnesses. It has nothing to do with designation. It's not because I want you to be the witness. No, the question is, it's the significance of my act. What is my intent? Factually, if you have witnesses, I give money to a woman for the sake of marriage in presence of witnesses. I never designated them as that. And I know they're witnessing the act. Understanding that the Torah says that if you do that act in presence of witnesses, it's marriage. Therefore, my intent and the woman's intent, both being aware that the witnesses, that's considered we're engaging in an act of marriage. But if there are no witness, we're not even aware of the witnesses, and there's a basic understanding that marriage is not a marriage unless you have witnesses, so therefore the act was taking place. They were going through motions, but it's not an act of marriage. So there's a case discussed, very interesting, Shaila. There's a question, what happens if it turned out there were witnesses, but the witnesses were apostle, and the husband and wife were not aware that they weren't valid. And simultaneously there were other witnesses who witnessed the act, which they weren't aware that they were witnessing the act. Is it a valid marriage? According to the Rashba. So again, so they say yes. Because here, they weren't aware they weren't valid. The husband and wife thought these two witnesses were valid witnesses. Right? I'll give you an example. The Gemara, we roll, we have this in Sanhedrin. Edim Zomimim. Right? Two witnesses testify, Ruvain lent Shimon $100. January 1st, year 2000. Okay? Subsequently, these two witnesses, 2005, are Edim on a kiddushin. Right? They're called up to be Edim kiddushin at a wedding. Now, 2010, two witnesses come and say, how could have you testified in the year 2000, Ruvain lent Shimon $100, Imano Yisem, you were elsewhere with us. So we rule like Rava Lemafreu Nipso. When we disqualify the witnesses, it's retroactive from the year 2000, because that's when they lied. So if that's the case, when they were witnesses for the kiddushin 2005, they weren't valid. Meantime, but who knew that they were Edom Zomim? It only came to light in 2010. At the wedding, they weren't the only two witnesses there. There were other witnesses, right? It was under regular chuppah. According to the Rashba, is it a valid marriage? The chassan and kala, the bride and groom, when he put that ring on her finger, he intended to marry or she intended to be married. They believed, they had no way to know that these witnesses weren't qualified witnesses. So since the intent was to be married, and there were other witnesses other than the two witnesses who witnessed the act, it's a valid marriage, even according to the Rashba. Wait a second, but the Rashba is speaking of the case where they're not aware, or one of the parties is not aware that it's being witnessed.
So that's the rule. Why?
Explaining why shouldn't it work? Because since the intent was to be married, because they believed this is a viable ceremony. So what do you need? Everything is intent. Everything's intent. What do you mean super intent? You need intent. No, the husband has to. The husband believes that he's marrying the woman. The woman is agreeable to be married, and she believes that the criteria for marriage is in place. Therefore, the intent is in place. It turns out later, it's revealed that the witnesses weren't valid witnesses. If there were no other witness other than those witnesses, it's understood. You could have all the intent in the world. The Torah says a marriage is not a marriage unless you have witnesses.
But there are two witnesses there, whether they were, their intent was to be married, so they had two witnesses there, whether invalid or valid, they should, according to this logic, they should be married.
Can I ask you a question? Person goes to the mikveh. The law is that a chatzitza is not a valid tefillah. Well, you were in the mikveh, but you know what halach is. But if there's a lesion on the body, an adhesion, it's not valid. Intent is not sufficient. You have to have witnesses. You have to have witnesses' intent. You can have all the intent in the world.
Yeah, but if you need the witnesses for some reason, where are you going to get them?
No, there were other witnesses there.
You don't know who they are.
You know, who said you have to know? The witnesses revealed they were there. Other witnesses revealed they were there. They said, we witnessed the marriage.
You have to know that they,
Of course
they
it's...
have to witness the specific thing.
Of course.
Seen the ring going on to the finger.
Exactly, of course.
When you were standing in the book, the rabbi asks certain questions. Takes the ring, why this is a your ring, and it's quiet. You can't hear. If I'm sitting in the audience, I can't hear.
Those are all chumras. Those are all stringencies. When you ask,
The witnesses don't hear any of this.
they just hear Harei B'Gdeshli B'Tabazu.
That's all they hear, and they see the chassan and the kala.
And let me give you an example. Let me give you 100% good. Let me give you an example. You have a coat, and your name is embroidered in your coat. And now a third party is wearing your coat, third party, and you claim the third party stole your coat. And to prove it, your name's embroidered in the coat. Are you believed or you're not believed? You're not believed. The one who's making the claim is not believed. Because we have a principle called Mashtach Siyaron Shalo. Anything that's in your possession is 100% of the law. If you own, because you could have gifted it to him, you could have sold it to him, regardless if your name's in it. So if a man has a ring, the presumption is, unquestioned, it's his ring. That we ask questions, that's a chumrah. That's stringency. Since it's marriage, we want to just cover all bases. The later, if it comes to light, it's a problem. We don't want that problem. But halachically, a man has a ring, the presumption is it's his ring. So if you hear the words, tabazu, tabazu means with the ring which is mine, she remains silent, and we see she accepts the ring, she's married.
Even the ring, you cannot. If you're sitting towards the back of the room, we know that there's a ring that's changing hands over there, but I can't see it.
It's definitely a Sheva Pruta. It's definitely a Sheva Pruta.
I can't see the.
No, we're speaking that he did see. Whatever had to be seen was seen. Whatever had to be seen was seen by these other witnesses. But these people were not aware
Had to be close enough to actually
that
see.
they saw the act of marriage.
Sitting in the back of the room.
No, right.
The backs of two hands.
Correct, correct,
The whole thing,
correct,
that's
correct,
not the
correct,
witness.
correct. You know, it's interesting. I was once at certain religious people. I mean, Shomer Shabbos, but they were, but they weren't. So I'm at the wedding, and the rabbi was from Westchester, rabbi of the chazan. So he was a nice man, and Orthodox rabbi, and he's marrying. He has a ring. So I asked the rabbis, "Did you ask him if the ring is his?" He says, "I didn't ask him. I just presumed." I said, "Why don't you ask him?" Turned out it was the grandmother's ring, and there was a custom in this family: every grandchild marries with the grandmother's ring. Okay? I said, it's a problem. He said, yeah, it is a problem. No, he admitted it was an oversight. He said, let's get the grandmother here. She should say in the presence of witnesses, I'm gifting you the ring, and not only that, no, the marriage didn't take place yet. This is before the chuppah. Give him $1. This is the rabbi. Give your grandmother $1 that you're purchasing the ring. So there's not even a question that this is a valid transfer. And that's what we did. And then he married his wife with this ring. No, then he gave the ring back. Then they gifted the ring back to his grandmother. He gifted it back. It's their family heirloom. He bought her another ring. What he conveyed, he conveyed her value. That ring, the original ring was his ring. Later she has a marriage band. Was that the marriage? What happens if a woman loses a marriage band? What happens if a person's coming in a taxi and it slips off his finger and he has to buy another marriage band? No, she understood originally. She understood that was the original agreement. It's not there was any... We had earlier even Matonam Nas Lahazir. It's only rabbinically. You shouldn't do it because it's similar to Chalipin. But outside of that, but here, okay? So it's nothing. Has nothing to do with designation. Designation is a whole different discussion. We had this in Makos. It's not sufficient. It's not. Everybody agrees it's not sufficient. Can I ask you a question? I have intent to sell you a piece of property, but I never do an active transfer. I don't give you the deed, and there's no consideration given. Is the property yours? I intend to give it to you, but until you transfer it, it's not transferred. So that's a key element in the transfer. You can have all the intent you want to get married, but you have to have witnesses. Torah says you have to have witnesses to be a marriage. Okay? El Omer Rav, Shliach Naseir Alumi Ma'al Limno Limilseik. Rav says the shlich is even a more qualified witness. Why? Because he establishes the fact to a greater degree because he himself is marrying. When you have third party witnessing something, he witnessed it. Was it exactly as he witnessed it? The presumption is yes. But in terms of the man, the shlich, if he does the marriage himself, he definitely knows what he did. So therefore, to establish fact, he's more qualified to establish fact than the third party. No, we're talking about Rav. Why Rav says shlich naseid, even to a greater degree. Rav was never the problem. The way Reb Shilamri and shlich naseid came in the marshlushum kamoso havali kagufei. So he's the baldover. Rav says baldover is not a problem because factually he's not the husband. He's only the husband acting as the agent, but he is independent. So because he's independent and factually he engaged in the act, he did the act, therefore he's more qualified than even a third party to what? To be the witness. Only in regard to bring about the result. But as a person, as a witness, he's a witness. He could be a witness. Why can't he be a witness? He's still who he is. Regarding to bring about, that's only in regard to bring about the result. That's in regard to bring about the result. That's what Sheila's saying. So if he's like me, so you're the baldover. If the husband is not qualified to be the witness, but factually, is he the husband? He's not the husband. That's what Rav is saying. Yeah, but if he marries her, he can't be a witness. Again, you're missing the point.
I'm just saying, we're not,
If in this context you're acting as the husband, how could you be two things simultaneously? That's what Rabbi Sheila says. Rav says, in terms of bringing about the result, you can represent the husband. But factually, you are who you are. So therefore, you're a qualified witness. That's Rav. Okay?
regardless of whether he got money for the agency,
Right, correct.
because that would make him an interested party. So
Yeah, but it's different. It's different. But even though he's paid as an agent, but it's unrelated to the marriage. Why is a husband not qualified to be a witness? He's the baldover. Because he's the marriage, he's the beneficiary of the marriage. He's the husband. If he's paid, he's still not the beneficiary of the marriage. He's testifying about marriage, not about agency. He's being paid as an agent. But what's his testimony? What's he witnessing? No, but it's two separate things. Psicoration of... No, it's not psicoration. Psicoration has no relevance to this.
man says to her, he says, you go do this for me, be my agent, and on the successful completion of the
I will pay you.
you will get your money.
Correct?
Now there's a question, did the marriage take place? Okay? And this man wants to come and testify, knowing that if the answer
Oh, that's a
is
different
yes,
question. That's a different question.
That's what we're talking
No.
about.
That's a different... Oh, okay.
He's
We'll
got an
discuss that.
interest in the other.
Maybe. We'll get to that on the second side of the page. Because the Gemara is going to discuss a case if two witnesses are given money by the borrower to pay the lender. Are they believed to say that they delivered the money? Because if they didn't deliver the money, then they're actually the debtors to the borrower. So they're nogea. They have a reason to say that they gave it. Similar to what you're saying. They has a reason to say that but it's a different aspect of nogea. He's not a nogea because he's the husband. He has a conflict because did he execute his agency? It's a different thing.
The same reason that you're disqualifying the husband, you might have to disqualify.
No, but it's a different thing. But it's a different type of nogea. The husband is because you are the participant. A husband cannot be a witness because he is the baldover. He's the participant of the marriage. He's participating in the marriage. The agent, the reason why we're disqualifying here is because he has a reason to say what he's saying is because otherwise he's not going to get his fee. So it's right. He has a reason to lie. Has nothing to do with reason to lie. It's because you are the player in marriage. Being the player, the Torah says you have to be independent, outsider to witness an event. You are the event. The husband is the event. It's like the murder victim witnessing his own murder. He's not part of the group. Because testimony is you witnessing an event. The victim is the event that's taking place, the act of murder.
Let's suppose the victim didn't die, but he was badly injured.
And he wants to testify.
Now this person's sitting in a wheelchair and he wants to come into court and say,
He's
"This
not.
is what he did."
No, he's not. Of course he's not. No, definitely not.
Even though the fact that
No, but we're talking about, let's say witnesses witness this injury. And they want to convict the damager for inflicting injury. Do we say that the victim who was injured, does he disqualify the group because he witnessed what they witnessed? Samar says no. Nibzech korval posel, that we disqualify the group, that's only if he's part of he's a witness. Here he's not called a witness. They're testifying about an event. He is the event. No, of course not. No, he's not believed. Not believed. Of course not. He's a baldover. You lend somebody money, and then you say, well, he's the one I lent money to. You're not believed. Why you believe? Torah says you have to have testimony. Without testimony, you're not believed. Even if there's a lineup, a person picks somebody out of a lineup, I don't know if that's enough to be convicted. Maybe then they'll do the investigation to verify that he's the one who did it. Based on that alone, it's not enough to convict him. Okay? So this, according to Dvei Reb Shilo, if he's paid, if he's paid, he's a nogea. But that we'll see. That's the same. No, right, correct. Meisvei. Oma l'shlosha. Interesting case. The sender says to three people, Tzu v'kichulu isha. He says to three people, I want you people to marry this woman on my behalf. And he sends all three of them as his agents. But of course, only one is going to do the act of marriage, correct? So one is going to be the agent to do the marriage, and the other two will witness the marriage. So what does Beis Shammai hold? Definitely ein shlich nasa eid. Correct? Because what do you need three? Two should be enough. Correct? One does the marriage, and he is the witness together with one other person. He says no. One is marrying, and the other two witnesses. Beis Hillel omrim kulam shluchim heim. Vein shlich nasa eid. All three, since they were all designated as agents to marry her, none of them are qualified to be the eidim. Okay? Well, there's a moment. So Gemara says, Ad kan lo pligi elu b'shlosha. Where's the machlokes b'sham Beis Hillel? Whether you have three, so two of the three, could they be witnesses or not? Aval b'shnayim, divrei hakol lo. But if you'd only have two, even Beis Shammai would agree that you're not able to have the marriage. Because the one who's marrying definitely is not qualified. Because with three, he says two of the three can be. But if you have two and you only have one, you discount one, you're left with one. So Gemara says, Hu dama ki aitani. It's true. The Bryce we're quoting, the way Beis Shammai is still being cited, it doesn't conform with Rav. Hu dama ki aitana. Rav follows this other opinion. This Tano who presents the Machlokes Beis Shammai still differently. The Tanya, Reb Nosson Omer, Beis Shammai Omrim, Shliach ve'erechod. Shammai says the agent and one aid is sufficient. That means what does Beis Shammai hold? Shliach nasa aid. Beis Hillel Omrim, Shliach u'shnei eidim. Beis Hillel says no, you have to have the agent with two witnesses. It's not what the Gemara asks the question. For Rav ke Beis Shammai. Whenever you mean Rav is ruling like Beis Shammai, not like Beis Hillel, we always follow Beis Hillel, right? Beis Shammai Mokum Beis Hillel in a Mishnah, we don't even consider it. So how could we say that Rav says Shlich Nasa Eid? The way it's being cited, Rav is following Beis Shammai's position versus Epuch. You have to invert the opinions. The Beis Hillel says Shliach ve'Eid, and Beis Shammai says it's not good. That's the only way we can reconcile the two. There's no other way to reconcile it. Epuch, okay? Ravacha breidu Rava masti yipcho. Ravach says you don't have to invert Beis Shammai's Hillel, but rather Rav, we invert Dvei Rav Shila and Rav. Rav ome'ein shlich naseid. Very simple. He inverts it the other way. Rav is the opinion the shlich cannot be the aid, which is exactly Beis Hillel. Dvei Rav Shila amri shlich naseid. I mean, you could ask the same questions. What about Rav Shila? Again, it doesn't bother us because we rule like Rav. So Gemara says the Hilsa halachically, how do we rule? Shlich nasa aid, the shlich is qualified to be the aid. Meaning, although we say shlich shem oso, that's only in regard to bring about the result. But in terms of the person is not the baldover. He's not the husband. So since he's not the husband, therefore he's qualified. He qualifies to be the aid, and that's the way we rule. Shlich nasa aid. It's like what David said. It's like it's not a psikration, a concept, but if he is the husband, it doesn't make a difference. No, but factually, no. Factually, if he is the husband, is he the husband in this context? The answer is yes. I'm coming to explain to Dvei Rav Shila. If he is the husband in this context, how can he be a witness? Are you the husband or are you a third party? That's the Dvei Rav Shila. So it's not. Even though it's a novel concept, but we're dealing within the concept. Shliach shalom kamoso. So if it's kamoso, how could he be the aid? That's Rav says differently. He made kamoso. That's only regard to bring about the marriage. His act is attributed to the husband, but who is he? He's independent. No. We inverted the opinions. Whatever it is. The conclusion not say that means according to Beis Hillel, shliach ve'aid would be sufficient. Would be sufficient.
started out with the Rav saying that the witness
Can be. And we're concluding this way. We're saying the halach is we're ruling that. We're ruling this way. That no, which means we're not ruling the Rabbi Shila. Like Rav, correct. Definitely, if Beis Hillel hold whatever Beis Hillel holds, Rav has to hold this way. So we're going to have to invert. Originally, Beis Hillel holds shliach ve'ed, that the agent could be a witness, and that's Rav's position. Shliach ma'aseid. No, we quoted a brisa. According to one version, Beishan Beis Hillel, everybody agrees the agent cannot be the witness. So we said Rav is definitely not following that brisa. He's following Reb Nosson. So we asked, but even Reb Nosson, we cite the position of Beis Hillel, it's contrary to his position. So we say invert it. So the conclusion is we have to invert it. That Beis Hillel's position is that the agent can be the witness together with a third party. What? And that's Rav. That's the halacha, Hilsa. Correct. Because you can't, because the halacha is, you can't argue Beis Hillel. No. Rav is, right. Because we always, not only, because we always, he doesn't have to follow Beis Shammai. Whenever there's not Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, the last word is Beis Hillel. Right? Nobody argues. If that's the case, if Beis Hillel's position is the halachic position, how do you argue? You can't argue with Beis Hillel. First, Rav's in the Mora, Beis Hillel Tanoim. The Mora can't argue with a Tano. Even though the Mora says Rav Tanu Polig, he can argue with other, but not with Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel, you cannot argue with Beis Hillel. Okay. Omar Ravam Rav Nachman. Rav says name Rav Nachman. Omar L'Shnaim. Tzu v'kitshulus le'isha. He says to two people, I want you to go marry a woman on my behalf. Heinei shluchav, heinei nedav. So this is Rav. What Rav saying Rav Nachman, the agents are the agents, and they could be the witnesses. Okay? This is shlich masaid. Firstly, in the context of kiddushin, v'chein begershin. If he sends two witnesses, two people with a get to be the shliach, they could be the agents to give the get, and also the agents that the get was given.
But if he appoints two people, they both have to do the action of two. If it's one or either one.
Well, see, that has to do with the previous mission that we quoted a brisa. The Yisrael says if you appoint three,
Right.
all three are not qualified to be the witnesses. So that means all three have to participate. Because if you only meant one of three, so what does Beis Hillel say? That two of them can't be witnesses. So evidently, what does it mean when you say three? Three means all three. Should be the agents.
You always need a witness when you give the get to the woman.
You know, we rule let if put it this way, if there were Edom on the document, you don't need. We rule af Edom Mesira Karsi. We rule that even if there's a machlokas in Gittin and other locations, Rebbe Lezer and the Chachomim, whether Rebbe Lezer says that Rebbe Lezer and Remeir says Edi Chasima Karsi. You have to have witnesses in the document. Only then does the document terminate the marriage. If you have witnesses who witness the transfer of the get, the marriage is not terminated. Nothing on document. Rebbe Lezer says no. Edi Mesira Karsi. That even if the witness is not on the get, if they witness the transfer of the get and the get was written lishma, she's divorced. And it's nothing. It's nothing. Nothing. It's davar sheberva. Ain't davar sheberva plus mishnayim. You have to have two with it. So we hold la halacha that it's machlok rishonim. When you have witnesses on the get, why is she divorced? So do we say because there's a presumption that if the get was done, we know the get was given because it's not just a piece of paper, because it's a signed document. So the presumption is there must have been witnesses who witnessed the transfer. That's the way Tosas learns in Gittin. Yeah, that's Tosas. The presumption is that it was given properly, therefore there were Eidim who witnessed the giving of the get. The Rif says no. that Afedi Mesir Karsi, that even Rebbe Lezer agrees that if you have Edi Chasima, if you have witness and document, it's sufficient. However, he says it's not necessary. If you have Edi Mesira, it's sufficient, even if there's no witnesses and document. Okay? But he says, Chen Didi Momnus. So Rashi said, what's the Chen Didi Momnus regarding monetary law? That if he appoints two witnesses, the borrower appoints two witnesses to deliver money to the lender, and they say, we delivered the money to the lender. The lender claims he never received the money. Does he have a claim? Do we accept the testimony of the two agents who delivered the money? Say, we delivered it. So Rava says, in name of Nachman, that they believed. Right? Shlich Masadayan. That not say that the two witnesses, the two agents could be the witnesses, that they delivered the money. And the lender doesn't have a claim to the borrower.
The more must have a common meaning that, okay, we established in kiddushin that the agent can be a witness. Then it becomes a case of
Gittin, and not only Gittin, even monetary.
So why would we...
The Gemara is going to discuss that now. Why? Why do you need all three?
Right. Why would I think...
Right. So Gemara says, Utzricho. That's the Gemara's next few lines. Utzricho. And all three cases have to be addressed. If I have one case, you can differentiate between the first and the second. Even if I have first two, you can differentiate between the two and the third. Therefore, he has to state every one of the cases. Utzricha, they're all needed. Diashmina b'kedushin mishum b'lemeser kosi. Kedushin means, what are they saying? The woman is forbidden to the world, so they can't have a conflict. They have nothing to gain, correct? We married the woman to Ruvain. We executed the agency. So they're prohibiting the woman to the world. So therefore they're believed. Meaning, there's no reason to suspect that they're not telling the truth. Avol Gershin, Necho Shema Einov Nosenbo. But in regard to divorce, maybe the get was never delivered. Maybe the get was lost on the way. And they're only saying she was divorced because one of them has an interest in marrying her. But factually, we have to suspect maybe it didn't happen. Discuss this in a moment. V'yashmini gershin mishum di itzo lebeitrei lo chazio. A woman cannot marry two men. So to say both of them are saying the same thing, why are they both saying the same thing? Right? It can't be the sake of marriage because both can't. So evidently, if they're both saying the same thing, the presumption is they're telling the truth. Avamamona emo hani miflik palgi. Maybe they received the money and they split the money between two of them. And they're just saying that they delivered it, but factually maybe they didn't deliver it. Tzricha, therefore we say, no, we don't suspect that. I mean, why should you? No, it's lozu afsu. It's lozu afsu. A, B, C. The Torah says al pishnai made him yokum dover. The Torah says that two witnesses believe, that's evidence. Two valid witnesses testify. Do we suspect of what? They have an ulterior motive to lie. Person has a cheskes kashrus. Person is a presumption. A person is telling the truth. He delivers a get. Maybe the get was never delivered. Maybe he has his eye on the woman sees. Maybe he's lying, and maybe the get was. I mean, what should we suspect? If the Edom have a cheskes kashrus, I need Rav Nachman to tell me that you believe witnesses when they say they delivered the get. So understood they believed. Person has a cheskes kashrus. Why should I suspect he's lying?
No, he has a heskus kashrus where he's not benefiting directly.
Let's say he's not a paid agent. Well, that's where he's paid. He's not a paid agent.
We have no issue.
So he has no reason other than to do the right thing. So here you tell me I'm suspecting he's lying. Person has a cheskes kashrus. Why should I suspect he's lying? That's firstly. Secondly, it's a mission. The mission says in Gittin, a single witness delivers a get. It says, is he believed? He's believed. Brings it from overseas, delivers the get. He says, no, it's not because they could check. No.
They can check, but they haven't got there.
And that's the question. It says over there that he's believed.
Is that because they're putting the burden on the woman?
It's something similar. Because again, It's not that. That's a single witness coming to who testifies that the woman's husband died, that she's a widow. That's what we said. Here he delivered the get. So the get itself is evidence. He's a single person. No, the get has witnesses on it. The get has witnesses on it. The delivery. So that he's the agent. Wait, he's the agent of the husband. Right? He's the agent of the husband. He says, "Foni nechtam." Do I suspect he's lying? Well, over there, it's because the Gemara says, even though he's validating the document. Right? Over there, every document has to be validated, has to be substantiated. He brings the get from overseas. He's substantiating the document. So the Gemara asks, how's he believed? So the Gemara says, it's only rabbinical. And since over here there's a question of aguna, right, how are we supposed to deal with it, therefore, we rely on him. We will continue.